shores and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fishery. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around, my friend, and all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you all the beauty in the state of Michigan.
Hi there, come on in. It is Thursday night, August 19th, 2004. Well, we're nearing the end of our summer season, and we've been showing you highlights from programs from 11 and 22 years ago. We've got a great mix of features coming up, all kinds of bass, walleye, dogfish, salmon, frogs, toads, dove hunting, and skeet shooting with the handgun. All this plus my guide's report of recent fishing success coming up in the next half hour, so stay tuned. I'm Zachary Trost, and you're watching The Practical Sportsman. This week we're adding the shows from August 19th, 1982 and 1993 to our PSF video network. In 1982 we had stories on largemouth bass, dogfish, walleye, salmon, plus frogs and toads. In 1993 the dove hunting issue was hot. We had an award-winning recipe and did some skeet shooting with a handgun. So here we go with the kaleidoscope of high points.
Decisions. All the lures that anglers have in their tackle boxes. What lure are you going to use on a particular day? You think that's a big decision. What day should you go fishing? What time of day? How deep should you fish? What happens when the sun comes out? Bob Knopf is a fisheries biologist who did some work where? Lake Isabella?
Lake Isabella, right, just near Mount Pleasant.
Okay, and you spent how long?
About 2 years. I spent 1 year tracking fish around, and I did it again another year and tracked a couple more.
Tracking fish? I didn't know they left tracks.
Yeah, they don't, but what they do is we stick a little transmitter or a beeper in them, cut them open, put it right inside, and then we follow them, we'll see where they went and what they did.
What kind of fish did you
use? Largemouth bass, and I use big ones, the kind most fishermen like to catch.
Like how big?
Anywhere from the smallest about 3 pounds, and they went up to about 7, so
wow.
3 to 7 pounders.
Wow, okay, we're talking about trophy bass. This man studied them, not just with the beepers, though. I happen to know that you're a scuba diver.
Right.
You snuck down in that water.
We went fishing and tried to catch them, and we went down and saw whether they were there or what was going on.
Okay, now let's get into it.
Fred asks Bob Knopf about what he's learned in his study. It's really interesting stuff. You can read what he has to say about the results on our website. Largemouth bass are a glamour fish, but on the same show Fred featured a bowfin or dogfish. Not a glamorous fish, but it can fight just as hard or even harder than any bass. This segment was one Fred did back in the 1980s. He did a big fish of the week where anglers kept their fish on ice and brought them into the studio so we could examine the actual fish in the flesh. One part of the interview was about the fishing tackle the angler used.
And let's talk about the equipment, because good equipment is important. We're talking hooks, line, and a fishing pole. Now come on, you guys used this to catch this fish?
Yes, we did.
We don't get too many master angler dogfish in. People don't seem to like them.
No, I don't know where the dogfish has gotten the nasty stigma that it has, because it's a very excellent predator. It's important to our lakes and help maintaining our panfish balance. It's a type of individual animal that can live in very poor conditions. It has a air bladder that fastens right onto its esophagus so it can gulp air. So if the oxygen goes low, it can live way back in the weeds and pads.
Well,
Ned Fogel is now retired from the DNR, but his master angler program is still going strong.
This technique for walleye isn't designed for action or a royal battle. Walleye fishermen fish to eat. That's what they like about walleye. And their fishing techniques are designed to put fish in the boat.
Sportsmen have always had a lot of questions of law, and here's one that came up during a night walleye fishing trip on the St. Clair River.
In June. Now Larry Lixie has one on, and I know what you're going to say. What, now there's one pencil plug on his line, there's a second one down a few feet, a third pencil plug, and the walleye hit the last one. That's 4 plugs on one line.
About 4.5, 5 pounds.
Oh. Oh, that is a nice one. Wow.
So is it legal to run 4 plugs on one line? Well, yes, it is in Michigan. The law says an angler can't fish with more than 4 hooks or lures, and the angler can't use more than 2 lines. But all 4 hooks or lures can be run from one line. There's no limit to 2 hooks on one line, and sometimes running 4 lures or 4 hooks can be a practical way to catch fish.
On that 1982 show, Fred covered walleye, largemouth bass, dogfish, and a salmon fishing melee with Captain Pete Rubianis. This was one of the many times we had several salmon hooked at the same time. It was a common occurrence in the 1980s.
The only one that was on.
Drop down. Drop it down. Drop it down.
You gotta drop and pull.
All right.
Steering over here.
You got it.
Boy, that's exciting to get that one in the net.
Just dump them on the floor.
Beautiful fish, Ed. Nice.
Yeah, nice
back
fish, but
out
you
of
know
the way,
there are
you
2
guys.
more that are hooked up right now. You'll see Guy Ritchie, 12-year-old guy, who really knows how to battle the fish. He's got one on. And Bill Swegler from the Travel Bureau. He's right off to the right there. He's battling one too, getting it right up to the boat. That's excitement. Fish crossing each other, battling.
We have the heydays of Lake Michigan salmon fishing in our video library. Nobody really thought that those days would ever end. The salmon are still there, but the limits have been cut because there's just not as many as there used to be. Now, I realize this is a corny transition, but on the August 19th show in 1982, all of a sudden Fred jumped to another subject.
We're being looked at by a green frog. But this is not a run-of-the-mill green frog. This is Eric Miller's green frog. Eric, you're from DeWitt. You have a big ox roast coming up this weekend. And also, what else? Frog jumping contest. And you are who? You the champ? Okay, you bet you're the champ. Look at this picture here we have of Eric. This is when you were young, though. You were only 6 years old. That was last year. How much did you win?
$20.
$20 for having a frog that won the frog leaping contest. Did you ever consider entering a toad? You didn't? Why not?
I just,
They don't jump very well, do they? No, I have a fella here. This is Bruce Jane. He's a herpetologist from Michigan State University. He's going to explain to us some of the differences between frogs and toads. Which do you like to pick up better?
frogs.
Why? Toads are kind of bumpy and strange. Okay, why don't you pick up your frog there, Eric? Bruce, you want to grab the toad?
I'll go ahead and get the toad, sure.
And you're not going to get warts from that, of course.
Certainly not, although their skin is very warty in appearance. You needn't worry about that at all.
Okay.
Now, Eric's certainly showing good judgment by avoiding picking a toad for his jumper, because you notice that the toads really have quite short legs compared to his frog. If we can
Okay, we'll turn
get
the
a
frog
look
around
at
here.
how long the legs are on that frog, and really that
you
that
go, Eric.
frog is comparable size to this particular toad. Also, these frogs
There you
have much larger thigh muscles. In addition, there's quite a noticeable movement that occurs in this kind of frog, which is a green frog, between the
Oh, look at
pelvis,
that.
which is this bone back here, and then the rest of the backbone, which is up here.
So they're
In
structurally...
contrast to that, you simply don't see that movement in the toad, so that also gives them an advantage in
So
jumping.
if a toad had the muscle development, it still doesn't have the skeleton to jump like
Right,
a frog
simply
does.
the mechanics of the skeleton would prohibit it from jumping well. One thing that toads are very good at, in contrast to frogs such as this, is burrowing. That's one reason why they have quite short legs. And besides the short legs, we see a very large bump,
Oh, that bump
on
right
the
there?
foot here. That's correct. And that's used when the toads burrow, feet first, into fairly sandy or loose soils.
Huh. So they burrow and frog will tend to jump in the water.
That's correct.
Well, I hope you have a winner there, Eric. Looks like a real lively one, doesn't he? What's his name?
Hopper.
Hopper? Heck of a name for a frog. Well, best of luck to you in the frog jumping contest. We're going to run another.
Now let's jump to August 19th, 1993. That was the year that the DNR made a push to add doves to the list of birds they could regulate. The effort was unsuccessful 11 years ago, but the arguments pro and con haven't changed a bit. To shed some light on Michigan's 1993 dove hunting fuss, Fred went across the border to Indiana to compare notes.
Do you know the most popular game bird in America? Now, it's not a wild turkey, not pheasant, not grouse, not ducks or geese. No, it's the dove, the mourning dove. Now, we don't have a season here in Michigan, but we're only one of a handful of states in the country that doesn't have a dove season. In Indiana, they legalized dove hunting about 8 or 9 years ago. At the same time, we were trying to do that in Michigan. We didn't do it, they did. I went down there and videotaped a feature to find out what dove hunting and what this controversy was all about. Pete.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about dove hunting in Indiana. We thought we were going to have a season, and then we figured we weren't, and it's in the courts back and forth. You had a similar problem to this in Indiana last year, didn't you?
Yes, the citizens of Indiana that enjoyed hunting really got behind it in this one particular instance, and so many letters were written, so many phone calls were received by the legislators that it swung the dove season around in our favor, and we were able to get one.
Still have a little last-minute shooting here for the doves. Well, that was a year ago, your first dove season in Indiana. From what you know about our Michigan
in this one,
Indiana's wildlife biologist Pete Meyer's perspective can be found on our website, along with the recipe from the 1993 show Fricassee of Rabbit, a recipe that can be used on any small game or fowl, including chicken for that matter. White wine, chicken stock, crumbled bacon, mushrooms, herbs, and spices. It was a winner for Luana Helmick in our wild game cooking contest. And finally, let's close the show with a bang. A story on skeet shooting with a handgun.
Pistols and shotguns. This pistol right here is called a Thompson Center Contender. Now, it's a single-shot pistol, one shot at a time. You won't see any of the thugs using it. I mean, it's not a practical gun for a criminal, but it is practical for target shooting. There's all kinds of target shooting you can do. The barrels are interchangeable. They do make one barrel that's actually a rifle cartridge barrel that is identical in size to a .410 shotgun shell. And this is a 44 long Colt, or 45 long Colt, excuse me, that can fit in there. And what do you do with a single shot pistol that can handle a shotgun shell? Well, believe it or not, you can shoot skeet with it. Well, maybe you can shoot skeet with it. I had kind of a rough time. Bullet. Skeet shooting is difficult enough with 12-gauge shotguns, let alone .410 handguns. Shooting skeet doesn't take a lot of equipment. A shell pouch is the primary accessory where you keep your loaded rounds and one for your empties. Bullet. A shooter calls for the bird by saying pull or pull it. Actually, there's no pulling involved and there's no birds. The targets are clay pigeons that are stacked in an automated target thrower. Years ago, the thrower was cocked by hand. Now it's all done by an electric remote control. In skeet, there's a high house and a low house where the camera is right now. The targets alternate from house to house. Bullet. The shot from the shotgun shell travels at about 1,300 feet per second after the trigger is pulled, and the clay pigeons are flying at about 125 feet per second, which means the shooter has to point the gun in front of the bird, lead it before he fires. The recoil pushes the barrel up before the shot hits. These fast-moving pigeons time after time. One minor bend in the wrists would throw the shot string off target. Duplicating this skill time and again takes practice, something I found a little frustrating, frankly.
Pull! That is so fast.
My second shot gave me a false sense of accomplishment.
Pull! There you go. Okay!
My next 20 shots, they were all clean misses. I consistently shot low and behind.
All goes on the swing of your gun, kind of keeping your barrel flat.
Okay, so what was I doing wrong? Show me what I was doing.
What you was doing when you were swinging on a bird, you swing fast, keep up the bird, and then you slow down. Get ready to pull the trigger, and you slow down. A lot of guys even too, you'll start cocking the bird when you go to squeeze the hammer. You want to make sure you look flat on the plane. No sights. Don't.
Well, you know that sight is distracting.
It is. So you try to concentrate, not have nothing there. You just keep the bird right in front of the thing. If you got your 1.5 foot lead, you want to keep your same 1.5 foot, the same swing. And you don't want to swing with your arms, just with your hips.
Hold it, just with your hips?
Yeah.
I wonder if I was doing that. Just with your hips, huh?
Yeah. You don't want to move your arms. You move your arms, that's when you start cocking your barrel up and down. That's where you got to concentrate, keeping the barrel flat, and you're swinging from the hips.
You can do all the chalk talking you want, but analyzing this sport won't break the pigeons. There's only one way to become good at handgun skeet: practice, practice, and more practice. Breaking a clay pigeon on the skeet range with a handgun has to be the ultimate accomplishment.
We're using these final shows of the summer season to test out the kind of material we'll have in the National Practical Sportsman Show we hope to launch in a couple of months for distribution around the country on public TV. Org.
From Clayton, Greg Reese got this 13-point buck down in Lenawee County. And we haven't had a lot of bucks in the past couple of years, frankly, from Lenawee County, although it should be a good area. Oh, look at this mount job. See the wrinkles on the nose? It's fleemaning is what that's called. That's what it does when it's smelling for a doe. Yeah, it's got a lot of whiskers there. How old is this buck, do you know?
4.5 is what they told me at the DNR.
I was going to say, it kind of looks like an older one. It's kind of funny, animals do kind of get gray hair and a lot of stray hairs as they get older. But this one you were bow hunting on the 29th. Well, that was 2 days before Halloween, something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
And in the afternoon again. Is this because you went out after work?
I put up a new stand location this year, and I hunted a few times, seen a few does. Didn't have much luck with any bucks, and I hunted on a Saturday before, and I seen this buck. I was watching about 20 turkeys, and they went behind me, and I kept watching and watching. They kept making noise, and I quit watching them because I had to turn too much. And I kept hearing him. I thought, boy, he's making too much noise for a turkey. I turned to look, and he was 20 yards away making a scrape. So I didn't know what to do, so I hurried up, got my bow, and just sat. I didn't get up, and he come up beside me on my my right side, and I was shooting to the left. And I couldn't get a shot at him, and he winded me and blew and took off.
Oh, jeez.
And then I hunted again on Monday, and never seen him, never seen anything that night. And I went back on a Wednesday, and he come up, and he was about 80 yards out on a horse trail, and he was heading north. And I looked at him in the binos, and he was going north, and I looked and couldn't see him. I come back to where I seen him making a scrape, and here he come right to me. And he come right up to me and went right back to that 20-yard scrape. So that's when I took him.
So you were ready with the bow then? Okay.
Right. Yep.
At that time.
Yep.
Man, that's cool. Well, that's a lot of patience on there. It's nice that he winded you the first time and didn't associate it with the the blind.
Yeah. Usually something like this, I see one time, I never see him again.
Well, that's great. Now you can look at him every day.
Yep.
Greg Reese from Clayton, a 13-point from Lenawee County. Hey, that's neat. Way to go. Way to go, Greg. Beverly Tufts from Middleville got a bluegill from Scally Lake or Lake Scally in Kent County. Almost a foot long, almost a pound and a half. Got this at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in September. No, the 9th of September. Had to be a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's starting to get a little chilly.
Yeah.
And you're fishing from a boat?
Yep. For
bluegill?
Yeah. That's all we fish for up there.
And you never, have you caught anything close to this before?
We were catching anywhere from 8.5 to 10 and 11 inches. And then I got this one.
8.5 to 10 or
my husband
11?
got 11 incher the year before.
That is great for a bluegill. Are the smaller bluegill better to eat?
Yeah.
I found that
Much
too.
better.
Yes. But I tell you, nothing like this for the wall.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bobber fishing with worms?
No.
Waxworms?
Waxworms. Yeah.
Waxworms. See, the mouth on a bluegill, for being a fairly large fish, it's a really small mouth. And that baby is cranked open, wide open there for the taxidermy, but they don't have that big of a mouth on them. Can't take that big of a lure or bait, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Makes you kind of look forward to something, doesn't it? Good deal. Beverly Tubbs, congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome.
For information, give us a call, check our website, and in these last few weeks of the summer vacation, share the outdoors with a kid. You'll both enjoy it. See you next week.